You may notice also that the colors are also not quite realistic to our experience, although they don't interfere with our seeing recognizing what we're seeing. But there's a lot of gold, and this is according to the tradition of icons in the Orthodox religion, that the painting is a precious object in itself, and so should show its nobility, its refinement, and that this achieves its goal in the way that painting rocks and sky to look like rocks and sky as we observe them would not do. But maybe the subtlest and the most important thing to recognize is that the direction of the third dimension is opposite to what we're used to, and it may take a little studying the image on the Moodle page in order to see this. But an icon has a third dimension that comes toward you. The illusion, of course it's flat, so it doesn't have a third dimension, but the illusion that it does is as though it were built out from the wall, molded out of the wall and coming in your direction. And if you relax your eyes and just study the painting and get used to what it's depicting, I think you'll be able to understand or to feel this aspect of it. The figures here are reaching out to us. If we look back at the Leonardo, this has the perspective going in the opposite direction, away from us. And this is one thing to note about pictures when you see if they seem to have the third dimensional illusion, if they do what paintings do, that they look as though they've got three dimensions, although they've only got two. Which way does this perspective go? Is the frame of the picture as though it were a window frame, so you are looking as though it seems as though you're looking right through the flat surface to what's in the distance beyond? Or is it like this, that the flat surface seems as though it's built out and is coming toward you? And here again we meet what's basic to the modern world, that this older pre-modern style of painting wants to show us what it takes for true realities of the religious story. And it's content to contradict our experience because it's showing something better than our experience. And it's reaching out to us, and that's the point to the painting. It's the divine, the divine story. The painter has lent his talent to telling that divine story. Does more than meet us halfway. It comes toward us. The painting presents the reality of things that we can't see. Perhaps in some down bad moments of our lives we doubt the truth of, but the painting comes toward us to try to present the truth of it. Whereas here there's a technical and even scientific expertise to make the painting match more of our experience. And we are cast in the role of the viewer who can, because we have human eyes, we translate what are really a bunch of shapes and colors on a flat surface into a view that goes a long way into the distance. There's a way in which this painting follows along with Descartes' account of God, that he first establishes himself as a kind of viewer of all things, an evaluator. And then according to the mathematics that governs vision and any other thing that we understand about the world, we can put together the scene from our intellect and the evidence of our senses. We can construct in our imagination what the poet wants us to see. And the delight here is in the precise imitation of reality, and perhaps in a way that's clearer and cleaner, more charming, more organized than our experience ever is. But this is common to the great moment of modern painting in the Renaissance, back even before the time of Shakespeare. That the power of painting to imitate our worldly experience becomes the main goal of the painter. Whereas here it's what the painter is trying to do is to use the liberty of painting, the things that a painter can do that reality doesn't do for us, to represent the way things are not, but in some way the way they really are, the importance of things, which we with our human eyes often mistake. So what we might say, trying to understand the virtues of pre-modern painting, is that the pre-modern artists take advantage of the ability of painting to show what ought to be. And one, of course, could think, well, why would you do anything else? Why would you use painting to simply imitate or mimic what you can see already, what the world looks like to us normally, since you have the technical power, the almost magic power of making the unseen seen, to make real what normally we can't see. Why wouldn't you do it in the most fitting way, to show things as our noblest thoughts believe they are? Now this, a painting such as this doesn't neglect its duty to show us noble things, that the content, the stories of our scripture, but it works much harder to match our experience, but then that is challenging in itself, and it becomes to seem worth doing. Since you have the magic of painting, to show us things of three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional surface, why not study and practice the ways to do that? You could learn about the way this world works and the way our vision works from doing that, and perhaps it is worthwhile celebrating life on the human level, rather than using the extra possibilities of art to show us something beyond ourselves, the nobility, the divine things that aren't equal to us. Perhaps it would be more instructive to use art to show us the world of our experience without thinking that it's a trivial thing just to imitate what is already. It's quite complicated. It takes a lot of skill and talent. There's a kind of science behind it. And so this is one way that our syllabus, that our semester investigating modernity. What does it mean to be modern? How is it different to be modern? Can follow this reflection that painting turns away from what seems like its obvious advantage and ability to show us the highest things and what ought to be, in order to contemplate, perhaps appreciate and celebrate the things that are, without making the mistake of thinking that somehow just copying the way things are would be a trivial accomplishment compared with the other possibility of showing the true relations as they ought to be, but not as we experience them. That would be the pre-modern goal. So this painting from some centuries later, the famous Dutch artist Rembrandt, who seems to take a decisive step forward into those modern possibilities. Well, this is clearly a human world. There's a fascination with the things of science. It's an unusual sight. Fortunately, we do not see dissected corpses every day, but it's not a holy or a mystical or magical sight. It is perhaps full of knowledge. It's a classroom, these people being instructed. But in some way, this picture says that our world, without speculating too much about the divine realm, our world is worth looking at. These people are worth being remembered and celebrated. Although they are not holy, they are not saints. We don't suppose they're evil, but they are normal men and scientists. And in some way we can follow the reflection on the value of modernity by noticing these differences. The difference between this Annunciation, the story is that the divine world came down to earth and touched in a special way what was otherwise an ordinary woman. And that seems like a fit subject for painting, and you could think that the only proper sort of subject of painting. This is the modern scientific world where we study the material nature of the body and think that that's worth our efforts and worth celebrating. So there's a rather complete difference of opinion about what is really important in life between a painting such as this and one such as that. But we might begin our reflection just by looking at this story of the Annunciation. It says, this picture depicts the same story when the angel told Mary that she would be the mother of the divine baby Jesus. We could look at this and note how it is both the same and different. What's the relationship here between Mary and the angel? What can we see visually from their actions, the way they're depicted, that suggests their relationship? One unfortunate way in which the paintings are obviously different is that this painting is damaged, and pre-modern paintings tend to be damaged. It's hard for a painting to live in good condition for many centuries. But we can still see that it's a beautiful painting, and we can make out what it's a picture of. So that will be one question for us. What's significant about the two different depictions of the same scripture, the same story? And as I said to begin video one, we can always ask about the choices that the artist made, and that will always lead to interesting reflections. And it's easier to make a comparison when they made choices about how to depict the same the same story.